Hi Flosstube, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're enjoying some autumn stitching and some autumn Flosstube videos, and I am honored and delighted that you have found me here in my little corner of the web with my leaves and my pumpkins and some festive stitching today. I have a finish, a fully finish, an FFO. I have a couple of WIPs and some stitching plans for maybe tomorrow or the next few days. It is getting very close to Halloween, so they might be for next year, but I thought I'd pull out a few patterns for this time of year, and you could help me decide maybe what to stitch next. I also have a little bit of happy mail, and I have a cat over here as my sidekick, so you might hear her again, just like in the last video. It is warmish here in California. It's a little bit warmer than expected. I've actually got the door open over here. I'm letting in a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of fresh air, and of course to see if my trusty sidekick feels like wandering outside and enjoying the day, because it will make filming a lot more easy. Well, I thought I would finish, I should say I thought I would start with my finish, with my FFO. You saw her last time. She is Nettle, and I had her 99% done. She just needed a few more stitches and to be stuffed. That's what she needed. And here she is, my little Nettle with the purple socks and her lopsided ears. I think she's looking quite charming. What do you guys think? It was a race to the finish. I just did the last stitches this morning, or I should say this afternoon, before I sat down to record, so that way Nettle could be my partner in crime, my Halloween hostess, and she's gonna hang out here with us today. I don't know if you've ever finished an animal cracker. I know a lot of you have, but I was a little bit intimidated to do this one. Maybe that's why I waited a whole year. Maybe it's not, I'm not sure, but having done some other finishes, some little pillow finishes and things, gave me the confidence to stitch around those cute little ears of hers and get her all done. All I have to do next is her mask and her little pumpkin. Then she'll be ready to go trick-or-treating. So we're almost there, and she's getting closer. I'm trying to decide if I want to do her pumpkin in a different color, since her socks, her little stockings, are purple and white, and I actually did her little pattern here. Just since I changed that sock color, I decided to tie it into her dress, and I did that little pattern where I coordinated those colors of purple and white into her dress. You know, Nettle's got to match. So I'm trying to decide if I want to make her accessories, change up some of the colors, and have a little fun with that. Let me know if you have a vote. Let me know what you would do, and if you've stitched Nettle. I have found that animal crackers are not for the faint of heart, and they are a little bit more challenging than they may seem, but I'm so glad that I tackled this. I actually started her in my first, maybe my second or third month of cross stitching, and so she's got a little bit of character, but I think it makes her extra fun, and I'll get to display her back here. And of course I have the pattern. So there's the accessories that I am talking about. I gotta make some decisions, but I'm so happy that she's done. And having Flosstube really held me accountable to get her done, because otherwise she might have just hung out in my finishing box, and I'm so glad that she didn't. So that is my FFO. Very, very excited. And it was a little bit of a race to get her done before Halloween. And yeah, I'm so glad that she's done. What do you say we jump into some WIPs? Let's jump into some WIPs. And as I've been working on these pieces, I have been reminiscing of Halloween's past. Now, I know that not everybody celebrates Halloween. I have celebrated it at different levels with different seasons or years of my life. Maybe it was taking the kiddos trick-or-treating. Maybe it was giving them little costumes. I remember the year that my oldest was just a little tyke and he was a scarecrow, and I made his costume. And so what I love about stitching this time of year is the way that it brings back some of those memories, some of those fond memories, and it's just special. I've actually been thinking about filming a stitch with me, a little Halloween or autumn stitch with me. I haven't done it yet, and we're running out of time here. But let me know if you guys would enjoy a stitch with me and to just get to chit chat and to visit. I'm curious as to whether or not you all out there like watching stitch with me's, if you'd enjoy doing one, because if I don't make one in time for Halloween, I could make one for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and we could just swap some memories and have some fun. So let me know if you would enjoy that. For now, I have been working away on this Halloween sampler by Blueberry Ridge Design. You all have been seeing this one from almost the very start of my channel, and it is so close to a finish. It almost was a finish, but I'll show you where it's at, and I'll tell you why it's not a finish. It's a little wrinkly, so I put it on a board here, and this is where it's at. The last time you saw this, I had finished the top. I don't think I had done any of the lower section in the last time you saw this. So I took that border down, began to go across with the word Halloween, and then I decided to go up a bit, do some of the motifs. I began to work on the little alphabet, sort of bouncing around a little bit. That way I didn't get alphabet fatigue and just kept staying motivated with it. It is really, really close. I want to say it's probably a few days of stitching away from being done. I was hoping to have this done, and fun story, which maybe some of you can relate to, I actually stitched the alphabet wrong. And so I had to tear some things out, and my heart was broken. I had dropped the letter F right there, and I had A, B, C, D, E, G, and it wasn't until I had gotten here and I thought, why do I have so much room? And then I double checked it, and I did some frogging. So I'd say that kind of took the wind out of my monochromatic sails here, and I took a day off from it, regained my strength and my motivation, and I just jumped back in. I didn't want to leave it hanging at that point. So I did make a lot more progress, but I'd say that slowed me down from hitting the finish as I had hoped. But it's so pretty, it's tons of fun, and I can't wait to get back to it. That is Sampler Holidays Halloween. And I haven't showed you all this yet, but I've got a little bit of a blender. Do you want to see my blender? I probably shouldn't show you. I should probably just always act like everything's fine, but if you know me, there's going to be a few blunders along the way. Right here, I tore a thread of my linen when I was frogging. And I did this long ago, so it's been this way the entire time. This is just the first time I'm pointing it out, because I got a little bit motivated by the Night Owl Stitcher. I saw one of her episodes recently where she had done the same thing. And so she got lots of feedback in the comment section. It made me feel a little bit better that maybe I hadn't committed the cardinal sin of cross-stitching. Maybe sometimes other people do that too. And so now I read the comment sections on her video, and I have some ideas of how to fix it. I think for her, she ironed on some interfacing on the back. I feel like what I might do is maybe weave in some white thread and kind of recreate the weave, because it's only that one little section, and maybe that will patch it. Those are some of the things that I'm thinking about doing to fix that little spot. But all in all, I think it is looking great. Won't that be pretty up on the wall? This is definitely one that I want to finish in a beautiful black frame and make it look really, really nice. So when it's all done, I think I'll take it down to Hobby Lobby. I like to bring my finishing, or I should say I like to bring my cross stitch to Hobby Lobby, poke around, usually on a day that it's a sale, and see what I can find that would fit my piece. I have not yet custom finished anything. I probably will. There are a few pieces that I have in the works that are just really, really extra special, and I want to make sure that they get nicely framed, even if I can't find something to do it on my own. But this is one I think I should be able to find a black frame for, which will be very fun. Looking forward to that. Alrighty, let's pull out another Halloween WIP. You've seen this one. It's in my autumn bag. with that pretty little autumn key fob, or scissor fob, which was gifted to me. I guess I could call it a zipper pull. I never quite know the difference between zipper pulls or scissor fobs. I guess it's depending on where they're located, right? Whichever way we want to use them. And here's the floss. This one is going to be Midnight Watch. And you would have seen in my last video that I'm doing my own color conversion. I am using Classic Colorworks. I am using overdyes, but I am using what I have in my stash and making a few swaps and changes along the way and having a lot of fun with this one. The last time we talked, I was asking your advice about that border, if I should frog it. Most of you said not to, and I was leaning in that direction anyway, and so I did not frog it. I will show you what I have done. It is wrinkled. I did an iron today. Let's see if we can smooth it out a little bit. Maybe I'll put it up on this board and we can kind of pretend like it's ironed. I'm doing it on this piece of vintage country mocha. And is that upside down? Let's try it again. I get my alphabets backwards and upside down apparently. There it is, right side up. This is where I have it at. And I went ahead and kept going with the border, and I worked more on the alphabet. I had mentioned that I was going to focus a little bit on the alphabet just to see what I thought of the width. That way I can make the decision on the border. And I've made the decision on the border to go ahead and keep it. And the little trick that I did is I moved a few of the letters around. Let me fold it so I can get you a close-up. I noticed in the pattern that the alphabet was a touch wider than it had to be, meaning there was a little bit of wiggle room. And so where these letters are, the M, this bottom row, I smooched them together by about 3 stitches. And I don't think you can tell at all that I did some moving around. And I was able to get it to fit where I'll be able to bring that border down. And it's all gonna fit really nicely. This is a super duper fun one. Again, stitching it with overdyes, not the call fors, doing 2 strands. Most of what I do is 2 strands. And having a lot of fun with this one. I did change up the colors, as you know, and I just enjoy the balance of having different types of fabric. So we've got this one, which is an even weave. I'm stitching it over 2, and I can't remember what this one is. It might be 28 count. I'll have to double check. And then of course this one, which is, I believe, a 14 count. I think this one is mismarked. It says 18, but I don't think it's 18. And I really enjoy going back and forth between the 2 different kinds. I love a good piece of Aida. I love how comforting it is. I love how simple and straightforward it is just to make those X's with minimal thought process, minimal complication. But then I also enjoy the softness, the suppleness of a nice piece of linen. I might have said that was even weave. It's linen. And this one is in vintage smoky white. So I'm enjoying going back and forth between all of those and having some options. Having also options where I'm changing up the type of floss, because I think that makes a difference as well. So for example, the one that I'm doing in all black, because I'm using DMC, I can do the loop start. I love the loop start. And with the overdyes, I'm not doing the loop start. I am matching 2 strands. That way it always shows as effectively as possible any of the variegation. And I miss my loop start when I do this, but it's worth it to get those beautiful colors. Now that has been, those are my 2 fall WIPs that I've been working on. And then of course our little Nettle finish. I have one more big WIP that I have absolutely loved working on. I am just hooked on it. I'm having a hard time stopping, which is why it's in this episode. I keep it in this little bag because, as you can see, I am using a scroll frame. It's my first time using a scroll frame. And I got this pretty Calvin Klein bag from a friend of mine who's getting rid of some closed for the thrift store. And so I claimed this a while ago. So this is the Lord of the Rings piece, which I showed you last time. And this is the one that I did for my husband's birthday because he was born on September 22nd. And the characters in the Lord of the Rings, Frodo and Bilbo, they share the birthday of September 22nd. And my husband is a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So this was the birthday start that I did for him. I have the floss here. I finally kitted it all up. My mom inspired me this last week where I asked her, Mom, should I do more of the border or should I go ahead and start stitching on the motifs? And she said, definitely stitch the motifs, get it fully kitted. And so I did. And funnily enough, I had almost all the floss I needed in the master set that I inherited. So some of this floss is vintage floss. Some of it is stuff that I had in my stash. And I'm going to show you my little trick of how I'm making it work with my floss stash and what I'm doing to minimize how much floss that I purchase. So if that interests you, I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick that I do, and maybe you do something similar. This is the piece. It's the smallest picture on the planet, and I keep meaning to print out a bigger one. But in essence, it's a really beautiful border that has different scenes from the Lord of the Rings and different characters. And I am doing this section right up here, so it's going to be really big. Would you like to see the progress? Here is where it's at. I've got it in the scroll frame. It's a little wonky, so I might ask your advice about that as well. But what do you think of the stitching? Isn't it cute? I'm so glad Mom gave me the advice to take a break from the border and fill in that very first section because it's got so much fun color and whimsy, and I cannot stop working on this. So let's talk scroll frame and then let's talk stitches. This is also a little thing that I inherited from that estate sale that I've referenced a few times. And this is my first time using the scroll frame. It does not have the fabric that's attached to the wood where I know that sometimes you can sew your piece to it. It doesn't have that. Instead, it just has the slit where you slide the edge of your fabric in, put it into the little holes there, clamp it down, and do a little bit of a roll, and it creates that tension. I was having a really, really hard time getting the right amount of tension, so I put some, after much trial and error, and I was really close to giving up, I put some felt in here, and when I rolled it, it finally kind of stayed put. Now, this might be the not correct technique to do, but I went ahead and did that because I didn't have any fabric grippies and I just wasn't getting enough tension, so I used some floss to kind of sew the edges. And it's pulling the fabric a tiny bit, but I've noticed that this fabric is really hardy and I'm probably gonna lose that anyway, but I have it folded here and here. You can see my back. And I just didn't want to cut that off because I figured I'd keep the excess just to make framing as easy as possible. So that was the way that I got the tension that I needed in the scroll frame. If you have tips, if you have suggestions, ways that could go better, I would be very, very interested. But it is so lovely to be using a scroll frame for the first time. And since you can tell that this is a very, very long piece, again, I'm right there at the top. It just really worked well to take all that extra fabric and roll it into the frame. And I'm liking it more than in the Q-snap. And what I do, again, this is kind of, you guys tell me what you think. I kind of hold it on my arm, if you can see it like that. I'll sort of hold it, I'll hold it like this, and then I push my needle back and forth using two hands. So this is really the one time that I use two hands for stitching, because usually I'm using a Q-snap or a hoop. And it's going really fast. I'm having fun with it. I know that I could, invest in a stand or something, and I may do that at some point. But for right now, I just have it sitting like this. Sometimes I rest it on the edge of the couch, and it's been really fun. My husband and I went to go visit his parents the other day. They live just up the road, so we hang out sometimes with our parents on Sundays or any day that we can, of course, but Sundays are a nice day to sit and visit. Maybe we'll share a meal or some cookies and tea or something. And so we were going over to his parents' house, and I said, do you think it'd be okay if I brought my cross stitch, which I had never done before? And he's like, bring it. And I did, and we were there for about 3 hours, and I was able to get all of this character done during that time of sitting there. And so it really made the time extra fun, because not only did we get to visit with family, I was getting my stitching in, and it's always relaxing and peaceful. So next time we go and hang out with family, I'll probably bring it along as well. If you know the story, this is a hobbit hole in the Shire, and it's almost finished. I need to bring the door together, put in the little doorknob, and then just finish some of the colors in the windows, and that will be done. Over here is going to be Bilbo and Gandalf the Grey. They're going to stand here, and my husband and I have been trying to guess who this is because we can't quite tell. My guess is that it's Tom Bombadil, who is not in the movies, but he is in the book. Maybe that's Tom. I'm calling him Tom for now. And that is my Lord of the Rings piece. And again, all the glorious floss. Even though it's not a fall piece, I started in September and I'm really enjoying sticking with it for right now. So what I did to make the floss work is, the floss list isn't massive. I haven't done a lot of like full coverage. Obviously this isn't, but if you do full coverage, you're probably used to going out and buying 60, 70, 80 or more skeins of floss. I haven't really done that yet. And so this had a larger floss list. This is just the first page of floss. And so my mom said, just see if you've got it in your stash. See if you can kit it up. I had everything in my stash. A lot of it was in the drawers as well. And then I had a little bit of time. So I poked through my basket. I have my basket of WIPs sitting right here. I poked through the basket and did a little Easter egg hunt to see if I could find any of the other colors. And I found a lot of them. So what I did is, when I found the color, I just marked it. For example, that says EC. So that's telling me Emerald City, which tells me that that color is an Emerald City. Here is HP, which is Harry Potter, which is a piece that my son started, and so on and so forth. And then I have like Voice of the Shepherd, which is a Butternut Road piece, and like that. And so what I do is, if I'm using it recently, as in the section that I'm working on, I went ahead and pulled it and stuck it in this project bag. But I have it labeled where I'm going to return it to as soon as I'm done. And if I feel like it's a piece that I'm actually going to be working on soon, like say Emerald City, I might want to start it up again soon, I went ahead and left the colors in the project bag. But then when I see that, say I get to 317, I'll know, oh, that's just an Emerald City, and I can grab it real quick and work on it. Because all the colors are really just used a little bit. I wouldn't do this for a full coverage piece. I wouldn't necessarily play this little floss game that I'm doing with full coverage, but since it's not a ton of stitches per color, it works really well. And then I don't have to go get a bunch of other skeins when I actually already have them in my stash. I'm doing this one on 14 count easy grid, and the pattern is by the Stitching Coven, who is on Etsy. I've mentioned it before that I absolutely love this pattern. I just love it. I feel like I'm coloring in a coloring book. I'll get it a little closer so you can see the stitches. And again, I know it's a little unconventional to use easy grid when it's not full coverage, but I've already tested this fabric to make sure that the lines will come out, and they have saved the day quite a number of times where I've made little mistakes that I was able to quickly remedy. So that way this piece as is has no mistakes, and that's my goal. I want it to be really special and beautiful to frame someday and hang up on my husband's office wall where he has a few other Lord of the Rings things that he loves. And I would say this is probably one that I would get custom framed because it's such a special size. And I'm just loving it. I'll slide everything back in to my project bag, and as we continue on, what do you say we take a look at some stitching plans? There we go. I have to be careful where I set things right now because there's a little cat and she's giving me the side eye, and I don't want her to come and play with any of my strings or my floss pieces. Do y'all have that trouble with kitty cats? They watch me. They give me side eye when I'm cross stitching. They're just waiting for a little bit of string or a little bag or something that they can claw. So I'll watch her. You guys relax. Now, I have my happy mail here, which we're going to go over next, but I've been keeping track of things in my little book, which I've showed you. It's a place where I am writing my starts. I'm writing down when I finish them. I'm listing some happy mail and of course some of my DMC organization in here. I'm thinking about getting a book of days for 2026. And I just think that'd be really, really fun to have a block for that day to get to write what I worked on and kind of visually see that progress. So this has been working really well for right now, kind of keeping me organized, but I am thinking of a book of days. Do you have a book of days? Do you use the official book of days? Do you use maybe a different brand? I'd be curious. I've been looking at just some simple calendar journals and thinking about just grabbing one of those, but maybe I'll get the official book of days. I'm not sure, but I would really, really like to get to share that in 2026. Now, you saw this last year. This is my Halloween bag that I got at the Dollar Tree, and this is where I stashed my Halloween pieces from last year. Once Halloween was over, I put all my WIPs in here, put them away, and it was a way that they kind of stayed contained in my stitchy cabinet, which is right here. It's got two big doors that open, and I've got some bins in there. And so this is my little Halloween bag. And before I sat down to film, I thought I would go through my stash, pull out some of the Halloween patterns that I have, and do a little quick show and tell. And we could maybe you could help me make some decisions of whether I should start something new or save it for next year. Because I didn't quite hit the finish on this one, I want to maybe make myself finish this before I start another Halloween piece. I'm not sure. I technically have 2 in rotation right now, which is this one and Midnight Watch, which isn't too many, but I am trying to be mindful of my WIPs and keep them around 10. I'm probably up to 12 or something right now. So I'm trying to be a good girl. Otherwise, playing my stash stitch thread game where I chase things down is going to get really difficult, right? So let's take a little peek inside here. The first one that I'll show you is one that I showed you last time. It's Jack's house, which I got out of the Primitive magazine, the Primitive and Punch Needle magazine. And the picture that I have is terrible because my printer was out of ink when I did this. But there it is. He's all colored wrong because you can see the streaks of the ink that went awry. But this is called Jack's House by Ship's Manor, and it was in one of those magazines. He's pretty cute. He's got the little haunted house and the little fence as his teeth. So I haven't forgotten about this one, and I am still dreaming of stitching this one up. I've got the pattern here. I like to use these little plasticky dividers for all of my patterns that I print out. It just keeps them really nice. And what I'll do often is I will put the piece that the page that I'm working on here. I do this with Lord of the Rings, but the page I'm working on here, and then in the back, I'll put the floss key. So I can just kind of flip it back and forth, and then I'll pull it out and adjust pages as need be. That's Jack's house. I did kit it up. Look at that. I've got all the fabric. I've got all the floss ready to go. I might even have a little extra fun and use some overdyes because I know that he is stitched in overdyes, if you can tell. So, do I feel like starting this? It is the 28th of October. By the next time you'll see me, there will be a decision made. And so that's Jack's house. He's a maybe. I have another one that's a maybe. I'm going to show you the most exciting one last. How about that? I also have the Reverend Gordon Squash Bottom by Not Forgotten Farm. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this one. And there he is. He's so cute. He would be a fun one even for November. So he's a maybe. I haven't kitted him up yet, but I just thought I'd show you what I've got hanging out. I love his little face and his little stockings and his little house and his cat. My cat is behaving really well right now, so that's good. And of course there's the floss list. I could take a little look and see what I've got. So he's a maybe. This one, I really hadn't quite given it much thought this year, but I bought this last year and I still haven't done it. This would be an autumn piece. Primrose Cottage. It's called Leaves of Autumn. That's the attic. I went to the attic. You probably saw my attic video here, but this was one of the ones that I grabbed when I went to the attic. Isn't that pretty? It says, every leaf speaks bliss to me, fluttering from the autumn tree. And this one would be a sweet stitch for November. So I need to have an honest conversation with myself of how I feel about starting something without getting a finish. But maybe I'll finish the black and white one. Or maybe I won't, right? We could do whatever we want. No hard and fast rules, but I am trying to hold myself a little bit accountable. I got the floss for that one too. Let's take a look. Look at this. Oh my gosh, these colors. Look at all these. Classic Colorworks. And I do remember when I was there that I didn't buy the called fors. I got, I kind of did my own little color conversion. I literally don't even remember why I did that, but I guess I just fell in love with some of these. Look at those. And gosh, bandana. Look at that beautiful, beautiful red. Hazelnut, wagon wheel, nature trail, and many, many more. That would be what I use for this one. So if I don't start it in November, I think this would be lovely to be a 2026 start. And yeah, it calls for a different floss, but I think that would be absolutely beautiful. So let's pop it back into our little paper bag. I have a little bit of a fondness for small baggies. Anybody else? When I have a little bag, I just can't let it go. I have to put something in it, or I have to save it in case I'm gonna put something in it. And I have bags stashed all over the place. I open drawers and there's little baggies just speaking to be used. Anybody else? The last one that I have was recently gifted to me, and I wrote it down here. This was gifted to me by Danielle. This was a bit of Happy Mail that I showed you a few episodes ago, but I thought it'd be timely to draw it out again because it is a Halloween piece. It was in this magazine that Danielle kindly sent my way. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you so much. And it had a Nora Corbett exclusive because I had shown that I was doing my first Nora Corbett. And it's Trick or Treat. Is that what she's called? Oh no, she's called Halloween Fairy. She is so beautiful. It was very difficult not to start her this year, but I just could tell that I wasn't quite ready to kit it up since I was actively kitting up some other things, and time was a little bit tighter. I just want to stitch this one so bad. I love her dress and the beautiful colors, and lo and behold, when Danielle sent this my way, she included the beads. She gifted me the beads. And so how easy is it going to be to kit this beautiful piece up now that I have all these gorgeous beads? Are these Mill Hill? Yeah, all these Mill Hill beads. And she gifted me the Kreinik, which is right there. And let's see what other colors we've got real quick. She gave me that blue, and then two of these ones, that color. They are so pretty. So all that's gonna coordinate, I think, with this one right here. And I'm gonna keep an eye out for a piece of fabric for her. I'd like to do her on an even weave. Likely the called for. The called for is 32 count tumbleweed. And I like 32 count. So maybe I'll get some 32 count tumbleweed or another even weave in this pretty taupey color. I could also do it in another color. Maybe it would be pretty on a green. Maybe it would be pretty on a blue or a dark purple, or maybe not silver. I don't know. I could play around with some colors there too. So she is definitely on my wish list for a start. And what I'd like to do is, I think she'll be, if I don't start her before Halloween, she will be my 2026 Halloween start, once I finish the black and white sampler, since that one is so close. And now my little Halloween bag is empty. Let's fill it up and we'll go through some Happy Mail. Do you like to kit things up ahead of time? I haven't done a lot of kitting up ahead of time. I have done some, but I am a big time budget stitcher. And so what I do is kit things up once I'm ready to stitch it. And it just helps me not have too much money or too much inventory hanging out. And it's okay. That way I don't have too much money or inventory hanging out in my stash. Do you have opinions? Well, she doesn't like that idea, but she'll be okay. Now, because I do that, I do have to obviously kit things up once I'm ready to stitch them. And I'm okay with that. I think that everybody should do what works for them. That's the thing that works for me, is it allows me to stay in my little stitchy budget and still have a wonderful time with cross stitch and get all the enjoyment out of it that I do, but without breaking the bank. And again, everybody has their own ways, and I think all the options are great. It's really about making our craft what we love, what you love, and doing what works and how it works out. What do you say if we take a little peek ski at this Stitchy Kindness and this Happy Mail? The first one that I'm going to show you is from Laura. I have two packages here because Laura so sweetly sent me a package, and I had up on my website and in a few other places, I had an old address, and so I had just recently closed that P.O. box, and so this went there and back again, and then she reached out to me to say that it had been returned, and I gave her the correct address. So there's two packages here. So Laura, I have not messaged you yet, but I've got a little goodie in the mail for you to say thank you for the time and energy that it took you to get me this little treasure that is here. And she sent me a beautiful little card. There's this sweet, cheerful card, and always love reading little notes from people. Thank you, Laura. Here's what she made me. It is, I'm gonna call it a scissor fob. Yeah, a scissor fob. I guess a scissor fob could be a zipper pull, right? Depending on how we do it. And it is a Jane Austen scissor fob that she made with her own little tag. What do you say we take out the bag? And that way you can see it better. Her cute little label. Hope it's coming in okay. And I'll describe to you what we have here. We have a little J for Jane Austen. My name begins with J as well, so I like that it kind of feels personalized. And there's like a little pearl, a little faux pearl, tiny little teacup. That's the little teacup. And we've got a tiny little teapot. Right there is a little teapot charm. And there is a tiny little cameo. I love cameos. And it's there. I think if I try to show you, it's playing hard to get right now. It's right here. This little cameo. There it is. And that is so sweet. Laura, thank you. Guess what I'm going to put it on? I'm going to put it on either my scissors, or I'm going to attach it to this next piece of Happy Mail, which also came in the mail. This is from Robin. I met Robin through Flosstube and on Instagram. So I need to find out if these ladies have Etsy shops or whatnot. But Robin sent me the sweetest gift and the sweetest little note here that says that she listened to The Heart of Bennett Hollow, which is my book that just came out this month. She listened to The Heart of Bennett Hollow, which is a Jane Austen retelling, while she was stitching this, which absolutely warmed my heart. And what she made is a Jane Austen project bag. Look at that. It is so precious. Now, for one, it smells amazing. Robin, your laundry detergent smells amazing. It smells so good. Let's see if I can get you kind of close to the fabric. You got the little characters there. They're kind of scattered around, these little Jane Austen characters in a little English garden, and this pretty plaid. And she put a lovely fabric on the inside. And if that's not enough, look how cute her tags are. Handmade by Robin Ray Cole, and she is on Instagram. I'll find out about Laura's information as well, so that way I can let you know about these lovely little goodies. What do you think? Should I put the two together? I'm thinking that I might. I just love it so incredibly much. I do not have a real homemade project bag. I've never had one. I'm not a good sewer. And so everything that I have is either my little mesh ones that I get on Amazon, or I use Ziploc bags that I save. Now that you know that, I love to save bags. So this is the first time that I've ever had a beautiful, fancy, quality project bag. And so this is an absolute treasure. Thank you for this, Robin. I'm going to find something good to put this in, and you're going to be seeing this a lot in the future. Happy Mail always warms my heart, as does the Flosstube community. It is so special. Sometimes while I'm watching Flosstube, I think about what it means to have found this community that I didn't know existed. I think a lot of people don't know it exists unless you know, right? And to know that there's a whole community out there of stitchers, of crafters, of people that are generous and kind and caring, and that have this very heartfelt sense of community is so beautiful and so special. I love to turn on Flosstube. I love the comfort that it gives me. I have now fond memories that Flosstube has brought into my life. I remember the night that I was in the hospital for my surgery, I watched Flosstube, and it helped me when I couldn't sleep, or if I was in and out of sleep, I was watching Flosstube. Specifically, I remember the Periwinkle Stitcher. She got me through that first night of her little sweet voice and all of her stitching, and it's just a comforting place to get to turn to. We get to turn to Flosstube. And my husband kind of had a chuckle that recently I was watching Steph of lindystitches. I was watching her Jingle Ball live video where she was helping everybody order their Jingle Ball tickets, and I didn't order a Jingle Ball ticket because I'm not going to get a kit, and she was like, you don't have to order it now, you can order it later. But I watched it for about an hour and a half just because it was just comforting to know that there were stitchers out there, whether it was Steph or all the stitchers that were getting their Jingle Ball tickets, and to know there's this whole community out there that shares so much warmth and so much care. And that community, it's absolutely special. It's absolutely magical. So it does my heart so much good to be here. Should I get to sit down and visit with you all? And as I stitch, I think about getting to share updates or getting to watch updates or whatever it may be. So I'm wishing you lots of happy stitching this autumn, and I will see you in November. Bye, buddy.